Welcome in, sleepyhead. It is time now to settle in, exactly where you are. The day is done. The lights are soft, or perhaps already dimming. You are safe. You are warm. And the only task you have left is to allow your body to grow heavy and your thoughts to grow quiet. Let's do that together, finding a deep, shared stillness. Tonight, we are traveling not through geography, but through devotion. We are gently closing the distance between the strangest rituals of the past and the quiet comfort of your present moment. We embark on a deep, sensory journey through history's most curious and captivating attempts at beauty. This is a story not of rushed vanity, but of immense, quiet dedication, of patience, and of the profound, often painful, lengths people, commoners, kings, and women alike, were willing to endure in the soft pursuit of a singular, perfect look. Take a moment now to acknowledge the position of your body. Feel the support beneath your head. Let your hands relax, palms resting open or softly closed. Now, let's draw a very slow, calming breath together. Inhale deeply through your nose, counting silently to 4, gathering peace and comfort. And exhale slowly, gently releasing any tightness or lingering thoughts you may be holding in your chest or shoulders. Allow your mind to quiet itself completely as we begin our slow, soothing walk through history's strange, beautiful rituals. The only pressure here is the gentle weight of your own body as it prepares for rest. Fact 1. The deadly gaze of belladonna. Our journey begins, quietly, in the opulent silence of 16th century Italy. Imagine a woman, perhaps a noblewoman named Isabella, standing before a polished mirror in a room thick with velvet and the scent of jasmine. She is preparing for an evening salon. She is draped in heavy silk, but her most arresting feature must be her eyes. She seeks a gaze that sparkles with an almost unsettling, watery brilliance. To achieve this magnetic effect, Isabella turns to a secret, dangerous ritual. She holds a tiny vial of Atropa belladonna, the beautiful lady plant. She carefully, steadily applies tiny drops of the extract directly into her eyes. The sensation would have been sharp, immediate, and cool, causing an involuntary sting that brings a tear to the eye. But the effect is instantaneous and dramatic. The plant's toxins, atropine, force her pupils to dilate wide, wide open, creating a dark, luminous, and captivating gaze that reflects the soft candlelight with an unnatural shine. This poisonous act was an intimate contract of beauty. The cost of that stunning, wide-eyed look was temporary, but total, partial blindness. Her vision would blur, her focus would soften, and her pupils would remain fixed in that state of beautiful, mysterious impairment. To move through the world with this intentionally impaired sight was the ultimate declaration of status, a gentle, yet profound sacrifice of clarity for the sake of an alluring, dreamy look. It was a beautiful, constant, blurry devotion. Fact 2. The alabaster curse of lead powder. Now we sweep forward across the continents, from ancient Rome, through the elaborate courts of Georgian England, and into the drawing rooms of Victorian Europe. Across all these eras, the single, clearest mark of high status was a skin tone of stark, perfect, unbroken white. This chilling pallor was visual proof, a testament that you never had to work outdoors under the common, harsh sun. To achieve this deathly lightness, wealthy women, and sometimes men who sought a refined look, applied thick layers of ceruse, a paint made primarily of pulverized lead. Imagine the heavy, smooth texture of the white paste as it was applied with a soft sponge to the face, the neck, and the shoulders, sitting like a cool, thick, and oddly fragrant mask. It offered a surface of absolute, flawless, unblemished purity. The horror, of course, was silent and hidden. Over months and years, the lead would slowly leach into the skin, poisoning the user. It caused horrible lesions, hair loss, and the skin itself to gray and deteriorate prematurely. The damage only forced them to apply yet more of the corrosive white layer to cover the very destruction it created. The sensation of this makeup was one of cool, constant weight, a heavy, fragrant lie worn on the face, quietly consuming the life beneath it. Fact 3. The quiet devotion of teeth blackening. Let's turn our gaze to Japan, across a span of over 1,000 years, culminating in the serene elegance of the Edo period. Here, beauty was not about whiteness or lightness, but about depth, commitment, and contrast. Married women, and often high-ranking courtiers, would practice a deep, ancient ritual known as ohaguro, the ceremonial blackening of the teeth. The dark substance was a lacquer created painstakingly from iron filings soaked in tea or vinegar, producing a glossy, deep, almost obsidian finish that made the teeth appear to vanish into the mouth's shadow. It created a startling, beautiful contrast with their starkly pale skin. The process was not quick, it was a daily, precise, quiet ritual performed over a basin. Imagine the metallic, sharp, and slightly bitter taste of the solution on the tongue, the careful precision required to paint each tooth. This black color symbolized much more than fashion, it marked maturity, fidelity, and a lifelong commitment to the family. It transformed the mouth into a dark, silent statement of beauty, a mysterious, hidden strength in the smile. It was a commitment to a standard that spoke of inner constancy. Fact 4. The rib-crushing silhouette of the corset. Now we approach the Victorian drawing room, where the ideal of feminine grace was defined by a single, sharp silhouette, the incredibly tiny waist. Though corsets had existed for centuries, the fashion for extreme tight lacing reached its peak in the 19th century. Women deliberately and tightly cinched their waists to achieve a startling hourglass form, often reducing their natural waist size by 6 to 8 inches. The ritual of dressing was one of intimate, demanding pressure. It involved the stiff, luxurious fabric, the firm, unyielding presence of whalebone or steel, and the tiny, persistent squeak of the heavy laces being drawn tight, often by a maid who pulled with all her strength. This compression was so severe it could displace internal organs and even bend the lower ribs inward. The pressure was a constant, intimate feeling, a firm, binding hug that restricted every deep breath and every full movement. This required a slow, measured, graceful pace of life. Imagine the stiffness of the heavy materials, the shallow, careful breathing, knowing that this structured, sometimes painful shape was universally seen as the height of feminine status and refined grace. The simple act of sitting down became a quiet ceremony. Fact 5. Arsenic wafers for an inner glow. Let's look toward the mountainous valleys of 19th century Austria, particularly Styria, where a truly dangerous, secret fashion emerged among rural women. They consumed tiny arsenic wafers, convinced that this mineral, a notorious poison, would give their cheeks a desirable rosy glow and make their figures appear plumper, a soft, immediate sign of robust health and wealth in a challenging environment. This was a commitment kept in absolute silence, a secret shared only with the bottle. They described the feeling of an inner heat, a noticeable, almost feverish vitality that came with the dose. It was a slow, deliberate poisoning, a daily commitment to a toxic secret, trading years of life for a temporary, fleeting flush in the cheek. Imagine the dry, metallic, subtle taste of the tiny wafer, swallowed with a private sense of determination. It was a perilous, intimate contract kept in the quiet of the morning. Take a slow breath now, feeling the air fill your abdomen completely, then release it slowly, like a soft sigh. Feel the weight of the blanket over you, or the coolness of the air on your skin. Allow the strangeness of these ancient facts to simply drift past your mind, like clouds passing the moon. You are safe, you are warm, and we are only observers of the past. Fact 6. The bizarre allure of foot binding. Now we travel back in time, over 1,000 years, to Imperial China, where the tiny, 3-inch foot, the golden lotus, was the definition of high-status feminine beauty. This practice began in early childhood, a profound, intimate ritual that marked a girl for life. The 4 small toes were painstakingly folded under the arch of the foot and wrapped tightly with long strips of linen. The binding cloth was thick, often rough linen, applied by the girl's mother or grandmother with solemn concentration. The pressure was constant, grinding, and intense, applied in the quiet of the inner chamber, leaving the skin white and numb. The resulting small foot prevented the women from walking easily. The smallest sounds, the gentle, rhythmic shuffle of these bound feet, became a sign of extreme fragility and high status, forcing women to move with a slow, swaying, captivating grace that fascinated and controlled them. The beauty was inseparable from the restriction, a soft, internal constraint. Fact 7. The veiny cleavage trend. Let's focus on a subtle, ethereal standard from the Tudor court, and later in the late 18th century. The sign of extreme delicacy and refinement was skin so pale and translucent that the network of fine, blue veins beneath the chest and shoulders was visibly traced. This suggested the woman was an ethereal, fragile creature, completely sheltered from the harsh realities of the sun and physical labor. If their skin was not naturally pale enough, they would sometimes paint faint blue lines onto their décolletage to softly enhance the effect, using a fine brush and a harmless blue pigment. This created a deliberate, faint map of blue-green beneath the surface. It was the visual representation of delicacy, a beautiful fragility prized above all else, a subtle, quiet detail meant only for the closest observation by those near to her. Fact 8. High foreheads and shaved hairlines. During the 15th century, particularly in the sophisticated courts of the Burgundian Netherlands, a very high, rounded forehead was the clear hallmark of elegant beauty. To achieve this smooth, expansive look, wealthy women often shaved their natural hairlines several inches back, or meticulously plucked their eyebrows entirely. Imagine the quiet, careful work of the maid, using tweezers by candlelight, removing every tiny hair to ensure a clean, pale dome of skin. This gave the face a long, elegant, almost egg-like dome, showcasing a delicate, smooth expanse of skin framed by elaborate, wired headdresses. The feeling of that bare, smooth skin against the cooler air was a quiet, constant sensation, a soft, deliberate transformation of the natural face for the sake of high fashion. Fact 9. Lead hair powder in the white cloud. We step into the dazzling, extravagant halls of 18th century France, where powdered wigs and hair reached their magnificent, towering peak. While cheap flour was sometimes used, the truly fashionable, stark white hair was achieved using heavy lead powder. This powder was applied copiously, creating a thick, dramatic white cloud around the head, leaving a distinct, chalky scent in the air. The powder was toxic, its fine, shimmering particles settling into the wearer's lungs and on their skin, a hidden danger. Yet, the cool, dusty feeling of the powder, the slight, metallic scent, and the sheer visual height of the style made it a non-negotiable status symbol among the ruling classes. It was a soft, silent snowfall of fashion that announced prestige, a glamorous, constant, intimate risk. Fact 10. Crocodile dung facial masks. Our exploration leads us to the vanity and practical science of ancient Greece and Rome, where skincare, while advanced, often involved peculiar ingredients. Among the most bizarre documented facial treatments was the use of crocodile dung, carefully mixed with mud, honey, and various strong oils to create a mask. This mixture was applied to the face, perhaps feeling thick, unctuous, and strangely warm as it was smeared onto the skin. It was believed to be a powerful exfoliant that could smooth wrinkles and purify the skin. The preparation and application, all done in the private warmth of the women's quarters, was a quiet, intensely aromatic devotion to preserving youth, using whatever nature provided, no matter how unsavory the source. Fact 11. The story of the stagecoach driver who hid her gender. Let's pause the beauty rituals for a moment and consider a story of necessity in disguise, a different kind of extreme dedication. On the American frontier, women often had to take on traditionally male roles for survival. One story tells of a tough, respected stagecoach driver. For years, she navigated treacherous mountain roads, enduring harsh weather and dangerous encounters, quietly earning a reputation for skill and grit. To avoid trouble and secure the respect needed for her work, she never revealed her gender. She wore the heavy, rough clothes of a man and spoke with a low, gruff voice. Her secret was so well kept that it was only discovered after her death, a final, quiet testament to her courage and the necessity of her deception. The rough, thick texture of her clothes, the constant chill of the road, and the silence of her identity were her own unique, profound sacrifice for survival. Let your own clothes feel soft against your skin now. Feel the warmth of your covers. You are deeply safe here, wrapped in comfort. Fact 12. The quiet weight of neck rings. We look toward the traditions of the Kayan people of Myanmar and Thailand. Here, wearing heavy brass coils around the neck is a symbol of great beauty, spiritual protection, and high status for women. The coils are not actually designed to stretch the neck itself, but rather, by their weight, they gently push the collarbones and upper ribs down, creating the illusion of an incredibly elongated, regal neck. The coils are cool and heavy against the skin, and more rings are added gradually over many years. Imagine the quiet, constant pressure and weight of the solid metal, a beautiful, golden burden that defines a woman's entire identity and place within her community. It is a slow, intimate, constant sensation of being encased in precious, valuable warmth. Fact 13. Elongated skulls, the gentle shaping. In cultures ranging from ancient Egypt to the Maya and some nomadic tribes, the ritual practice of artificial cranial deformation was common. Shortly after birth, when the skull was still soft and pliable, the head of a child would be gently wrapped and shaped with soft fabrics and specially designed boards. This slow, constant pressure, applied with great care by the mother or a dedicated elder, resulted in a highly elongated or flattened head shape, which was universally considered a sign of high nobility, intelligence, and spiritual strength. The feeling of the soft wrappings being the earliest, quiet sensation a child knew was the profound introduction to their cultural commitment, a mark of nobility visible for life. Fact 14. Roman skin polishing with pumice. While the very wealthiest Romans used expensive oils and silken cloths, common people and slaves still sought smooth, hairless skin. A very common and accessible method for hair removal and skin smoothing was using small pieces of pumice stone, a rough volcanic rock, rubbed gently yet firmly against the skin in the warm, humid air of the public bathhouse. Imagine the rough, gritty texture of the stone against your legs or arms, creating a tingling, warm friction that resulted in a wonderfully smooth, quiet feeling of cleanliness and refinement. It was an accessible, democratic dedication to personal presentation, a simple stone turning rough skin into soft skin. Fact 15. The radiance of radioactive makeup. We return briefly to the early 20th century, before the true, terrifying danger of radioactivity was widely understood. Some French cosmetics brands advertised products containing trace amounts of thorium or radium, promising they would activate internal circulation and give the wearer a radiant, glowing look. The idea of wearing a faintly shimmering, poisonous powder was the ultimate, luxurious secret. Applying this beautiful, dangerous substance would have felt cool, fine, and perhaps subtly warm on the skin, a light dusting that promised life and energy but delivered slow, quiet destruction. It was the epitome of glamorous, fatal ignorance, a silent threat carried on the face. Fact 16. The story of Elizabeth I's saffron hair. During the late 16th century, Queen Elizabeth I set the unquestioned standard for hair color, a beautiful, pale, almost fiery ginger-red hue. Courtiers desperate to emulate the Queen often went to extreme lengths. The traditional recipe for achieving this color involved a messy concoction of saffron, lead, and sulfur. Imagine the thickness of the heavy mixture as it was applied, feeling strangely herbal and heavy. Then, the long, quiet hours spent sitting in the sun, often with the hair pulled over a large cone or frame, to allow the powerful sun to activate the bleach. The resulting color was prized, but the texture of the treated hair was brittle and dry, a subtle, constant reminder of the intense process endured for a queenly glow. Fact 17. Medieval eyebrow obsession. In medieval Europe, a highly arched, impossibly thin, and pale brow was the distinct mark of aristocracy. This was due to the belief that high foreheads were intellectual and beautiful. Some women would pluck their eyebrows almost completely out, leaving only a faint, elegant line, if that. They would sometimes use a mixture of mouse fur and sticky oils to create the desired texture or shade. The quiet, repetitive act of plucking, done in soft candlelight, then the smooth, bare feeling of the skin above the eye, was a form of silent, dedicated fashion. It subtly opened the face and highlighted the large, smooth shape of the forehead, making the face appear serene and intellectual. Fact 18. Persian eyeliner and the scent of kohl. In ancient Persia and Egypt, kohl, a dark, mineral powder, often made from galena, was used extensively by both men and women to line and define the eyes. This was not purely cosmetic, it was widely believed to ward off the evil eye and, functionally, to protect the eyes from the glare of the hot, intense desert sun. Imagine the gentle pressure of the ivory or wooden applicator stick, drawing a sharp, cool line along your eyelids, leaving behind a subtle, earthy, metallic scent. This morning ritual was one of quiet protection, powerful definition, and a constant, cool sensation around the eye, worn by pharaoh and common farmer alike. Fact 19. The gentle shaping of the nose. In certain delicate circles of the Victorian era, a narrow, classically straight nose was considered the most beautiful, refined feature. For those dissatisfied with their natural shape, small, intimate devices known as nose shapers or nose straighteners were sold, often through discreet advertisements. These were small clamps or molds, often made of soft metals or rubber, meant to be worn quietly while sleeping. Imagine the subtle, constant pressure on the bridge of your nose as you drift off, a quiet, nightly commitment to a gradual, incremental change in your features, performed in the dark privacy of the bedroom. Fact 20. The power of scent in ancient Rome. For a high-status Roman woman, the skin was not truly beautiful until it was richly scented. After the long, luxurious ritual of the bathhouse, they would apply thick, precious oils and complex perfumes made from exotic flowers, spices, and resins. These weren't subtle scents, they were rich, heavy, and dominating. Imagine the feeling of the warm, viscous oil being massaged slowly into your skin, its heavy, aromatic scent immediately surrounding you, a soft, sensual layer of luxury that announced your presence and lasted long into the night. It was a beautiful, fragrant weight that settled the senses. Fact 21. The missing molar trend. Our attention shifts now to the powerful Mayan civilization, where a distinct mark of beauty, especially for young men of high status, was the intentional and careful removal of one or two front teeth. This deliberate gap was considered aesthetically pleasing, indicating maturity, and sometimes signifying warrior status. The extraction was a painful, singular event, but the resulting change was permanent. The quiet, empty space where a tooth once was, constantly felt by the tongue, was a deliberate alteration to the face's natural symmetry. It was a hard-won, silent status symbol, visible only when they smiled or spoke their powerful words. Fact 22. Aztec hair washing with urine. In Aztec society, cleanliness and well-kept hair were signs of respect and status, but the available cleansing agents were surprising. They often used a mixture derived from fermented maize and sometimes human urine for its ammonia content, which served as a powerful cleanser and treatment for hair. Imagine the initial, sharp, strong scent that must have dominated the washing process, slowly fading away as the hair dried in the warm sun, leaving behind a clean, soft texture. This was a private, functional practice, prioritizing effectiveness and hygiene over immediate sweet aroma. Fact 23. The Venetian chopine shoe. In 15th to 17th century Venice, high-status women wore shoes called chopins, which were essentially tall, striking platforms, sometimes reaching over 20 inches in height. These shoes were made of light wood and cork, covered in luxurious, heavy velvet fabric. Because they were so tall and unstable, the wearer literally could not walk unaided, forcing her to move with slow, deliberate, majestic care, often supported by two attendants. The feeling of being held up, towering over the ground, was a direct, tactile symbol of her elevated status and fragile, expensive beauty. The wood and velvet created a gentle friction that accompanied every step. Fact 24. Renaissance face plasters. During the Renaissance, small, intricate patches of black velvet or silk, charmingly called plasters or beauty spots, were widely used. They were originally intended to cover the fading scars or blemishes left by smallpox, but soon became essential fashion accessories. These tiny, soft fabric shapes, cut into charming stars, crescents, or hearts, were held on with a simple adhesive. They quickly became fashionable, acting not just as cover-ups but as a quiet, flirtatious code, with their placement sometimes conveying secret messages or playful intentions to those who knew how to read them across the crowded ballroom. Fact 25. The Red-Heeled King. Finally, for this segment, we look to the most powerful man in 17th century France, King Louis XIV. He decreed that only members of the nobility could wear shoes with high, square red heels. The color red was extremely expensive to dye and was a clear, visible signal of status, meaning the wearer's beautiful, delicate shoes were never meant to touch the dirt of common life. Imagine the feeling of the rich, red leather, the slight lift provided by the heel. The quiet, rhythmic tapping sound of those specialized heels on marble floors was the soft, audible announcement of prestige and power in the quiet court halls, a beauty standard enforced by the king himself. Now, let the journey pause here. We have completed the first quarter of our long, soothing walk through the past. You have carried the weight of lead, felt the stiffness of the corset, and heard the soft shuffle of the golden lotus. Release those images now. They are just stories. Focus only on the darkness behind your eyelids and the soft, steady feeling of your breath moving in and out, in and out. Your body is heavy. Your mind is quiet. Allow yourself to sink even deeper into the comfort beneath you. We continue our gentle journey. Let the previous story simply soften and fade, and allow the quiet comfort of the present moment to hold you. You are safe. You are drifting. And we are ready to continue our slow, soft exploration of human dedication to beauty. Fact 26. Tudor beard tax. We step now into the court of 16th century England, under the reign of the famously robust and bearded King Henry VIII. He decided that the maintenance of a beard was not merely a matter of personal style, but a luxury, and thus, a taxable commodity. He briefly introduced a tax on beards. This move instantly made the act of growing and maintaining facial hair a clear, visible sign of wealth, social standing, and a willingness to pay for this specific, masculine style. Imagine a wealthy man, perhaps a goldsmith or a nobleman, quietly running his fingers over his well-trimmed, thick beard. The texture is prickly and dense. His beard is his visible statement of success, a daily, constant, and intimate reminder that he had paid the king for the right to wear it. The weight of the tax coin, paid in the quiet of a treasury room, was subtly transferred to the weight of the hair on his face. It was a silent political statement, worn proudly and daily. Fact 27. The ancient Roman monobrow. For Roman women, the standards of facial beauty valued something far from the neat, plucked lines we know today. A strong, unplucked monobrow, or unibrow, was considered a highly desirable, intellectual trait, signifying deep thought, wisdom, and a certain kind of chaste purity. Those who did not naturally possess a thick, dark brow would often darken the area with kohl, or, in more elaborate rituals, carefully apply tiny pieces of goat hair fixed with resin to create the illusion of a single, continuous, elegant line across the forehead. Imagine a young Roman poetess, sitting by a window, carefully pressing the dark, sticky resin onto her skin. The feeling of the dense hair, the constant, gentle pressure between the eyes, was a deliberate alteration to enhance the perception of her mind. This was a beauty standard prioritizing the appearance of intellect over mere softness. Fact 28. Renaissance hair depilatories. Hair removal was a common, rigorous practice among women in Renaissance courts, not just for the face but also the body. To achieve the pale, smooth skin that was a mark of luxury, they turned to potent and often dangerous concoctions. Recipes for depilatories were often toxic, containing harsh mixtures of quicklime, lye, and sometimes even arsenic, mixed into a thick, burning paste. Imagine the private preparation, the grinding of the minerals, the mixing into a slurry. Then, the application, the sharp, chemical, acrid smell that dominated the small room, and the intense, stinging heat on the skin as this mixture quietly melted away the hair. It left the skin smooth, but often painfully inflamed. This was the dark, necessary price of a delicate, hairless neck and shoulder, a secret discomfort endured for the sake of presentation. Fact 29. The Sapa Inca's earplugs. Let's turn to the majesty of the Inca Empire. The highest nobility, including the Sapa Inca and his family, were visually marked as the Orjones, a Spanish term meaning big ears. This was because, from a young age, they wore large, ornate, heavy plugs made of carved gold, silver, or highly polished wood in their stretched earlobes. Imagine a young Inca prince, perhaps at his coming-of-age ceremony. A small plug is inserted, and over the years, steadily heavier and larger pieces are used, stretching the lobe dramatically. The feeling of the cool, heavy, precious metal gently weighing down the ear was a constant, comfortable reminder of their divine lineage and immense wealth. It was a silent, powerful, tactile status symbol, swinging gently with every slow, measured movement. Fact 30. Tudor starch in the ruff. In the Elizabethan era, the massive, intricate collar known as the ruff became the unquestioned height of fashion. These intricate, pleated linen collars required vast amounts of specialized starch and hours of careful work to prepare and set. The responsibility for this immense effort often fell to the washerwoman or a dedicated maid. Imagine her hands, working tirelessly in the heat, boiling the starch, then carefully pressing and shaping the hundreds of tiny pleats with heated crimping irons. The ruff itself, when worn, was stiff, cool, and almost unyielding. It held the head rigid and upright, framing the face dramatically. The sound of the starched linen, rustling faintly and crisply with every turn of the head, was a subtle, soft music of expensive fashion that enforced a stately, slow posture. Fact 31. Egyptian hair cones of scented fat. Let's transport ourselves to a humid, dimly lit banquet hall in ancient Egypt. At feasts and celebrations, it was common for both men and women to place cones of solidified, highly scented animal fat, often blended with myrrh, spice, and flower extracts, on top of their heavy wigs or natural hair. As the evening progressed, and the room grew warm from the heat of the crowds and the lamps, the fat would slowly, luxuriously melt. Imagine the subtle, cool slide of the melting wax as it released its rich, spicy perfume, dripping down over the wig, the clothes, and the skin, bathing the wearer in a sensual, heavy aroma that lasted for hours. The fragrance was a constant, intoxicating presence, a sensual signal of their wealth and readiness for celebration. Fact 32. Tudor skin astringents in vinegar. Beyond the dangerous lead makeup, Tudor women pursued a tightly stretched, smooth, and poreless complexion through highly astringent preparations. Their favorite weapon was strong, concentrated vinegar, often mixed with herbs or rosewater. Imagine the sharp, acrid scent of the vinegar dominating the quiet room as they dabbed the cold, acidic liquid onto their skin. The feeling would be one of immediate tautness, the skin contracting, hoping to shrink pores and achieve a delicate, fine-pored look. It was a brisk, harsh sensation, a constant, silent battle against the natural softness of the skin. Let your breathing deepen now, finding a soft, steady rhythm. Inhale the clean air deeply, and exhale slowly, releasing any tension you may find lingering in your chest. You are moving closer to a profound rest. Fact 33. The Japanese practice of hikimeu. Contrasting dramatically with the black teeth of ohaguro, Japanese noblewomen during the Heian period would engage in hikimeu. They would meticulously pluck or shave their natural eyebrows completely out, leaving the skin bare and smooth. Then, they would paint two thick, dark ovals or heavy smudges high on the forehead, far above the natural brow line. This practice gave the face a serene, stylized, mask-like appearance, divorcing the eyes from the expression above. Imagine the cool, soft brush tracing the artificial shape, the careful concentration required to make them perfectly symmetrical. This was a meditative, ritualistic devotion to an unnatural, aristocratic beauty, a quiet reshaping of the face's emotional landscape. Fact 34. The permanent tattoos of the Scythian kings. The Scythians, nomadic peoples who dominated the Eurasian steppe, often decorated their bodies with extensive, complex blue and black tattoos, depicting animals and mythological scenes. These permanent markings were incredibly detailed and covered vast portions of their skin, including their arms, legs, and even torso. For them, these markings, quietly etched into the skin with needles and soot, were not just decorative. They were believed to provide spiritual and protective power that lasted into the afterlife, detailing their tribal allegiance and prowess. A famous example is the Siberian Ice Maiden, whose perfectly preserved tattoos show intricate spirals in animals. The entire body became a living, breathing, beautifully scarred map of their history. Fact 35. Roman barbers and tonsure. For a Roman citizen, the daily visit to the tonsure, or barber, was not a chore but a social and necessary ritual. Men would visit daily for close shaves, which were performed with sharp bronze or iron razors, often resulting in small nicks and cuts. Imagine the feeling of the cool, smooth stone of the barber's chair, the warm application of scented water, and then the sharp, metal pressure of the blade against the cheek, pulled taut. It required immense trust and stillness. The resulting smooth jawline, often followed by a splash of scented oil, was the cool, immediate mark of respectability, a quiet, daily dedication to the smooth-faced ideal. Fact 36. Mesoamerican dental inlays. For the Mayan elite, a beautiful smile was one that sparkled, literally. Their skilled artisans would carefully drill small, shallow holes into the front teeth and then set them with tiny, highly polished pieces of jade, turquoise, or obsidian. The drilling was done without modern anesthesia, requiring stoic silence and stillness. Once completed, imagine the cool, smooth hardness of the jewel resting permanently in the tooth, a subtle, sharp sparkle hidden inside the mouth. It was a treasure reserved for the mouth, a quiet gleam revealed only during speech or laughter, a beautiful, costly secret worn in the smile. Fact 37. The gentle curves of the Grecian statue. In ancient Greece, the most admired female form was one of soft, modest, and naturally athletic curves, avoiding both excessive thinness and obesity. They achieved this look less through extreme dieting and more through exercise, massage, and the artful, effortless drapery of their soft linen garments, the peplos and chiton. The clothes were designed to allow the body to move freely and gracefully, with the thin, soft linen clinging gently to the form, emphasizing natural health. The feeling of the soft, light linen against the skin was the ultimate expression of natural beauty, unbound, comfortable, and serene. Fact 38. The yellow face of the courtesan. In some sophisticated circles of 17th century Europe, high-status courtesans would use a delicate mixture containing saffron or even small amounts of sulfur to subtly tint their skin with a distinct yellow cast. This was meant to mimic a specific appearance often associated with illness, delicacy, or a faint, alluring fragility. The gentle, herbal scent of the saffron, combined with the strange, slightly sickly color, was a secret mark of their profession and status as desirable, delicate creatures. The texture of the powder was fine and soft, a constant, strange warmth on the skin that suggested an ethereal vulnerability. Fact 39. The wigs of the Egyptian royal court. Ancient Egyptians, both men and women, commonly shaved their heads, not primarily for fashion, but for hygiene and protection from the intense heat of the desert sun. Over their clean, smooth scalps, they wore elaborate, heavy wigs made from human hair or plant fibers. These wigs were meticulously woven, thick, and sometimes quite heavy, creating a cooling, protective layer that could be removed easily for cleanliness. The feeling of the heavy, dark hairpiece resting upon the smooth, cool scalp, offering shade and status, was a constant, comforting presence, a removable crown of fashion. Fact 40. Tudor skin astringents in vinegar. Returning briefly to the Tudor era, the pursuit of a fine-pored, tight-skinned appearance dominated the morning routine. To achieve this, women constantly relied on highly astringent concoctions. While they lacked knowledge of modern chemistry, they trusted anything that felt sharp and clean. The strong, concentrated vinegar, often infused with herbal waters, was dabbed onto the face with a cloth. The cold, acidic liquid caused the skin to immediately contract. This daily ritual was a sensory overload of coldness and sharpness, designed to leave the skin feeling unnaturally stretched and dry, yet perfectly smooth and white. Fact 41. Roman togas and weight. For a Roman citizen, the most significant fashion statement was the toga, a massive semicircular piece of woolen fabric, often 20 feet long. It was painstakingly draped over the body in precise, non-negotiable folds. Wearing it required immense skill, posture, and stillness, as the weight of the wool was substantial. The sensation was one of constant, warm pressure, a heavy, woolen cloak perfectly draped that restricted sudden movement. The constant effort of holding the folds in place was a physical manifestation of their citizenship and power. This garment was a heavy, warm, fabric sculpture worn on the body. Fact 42. The Turkish bath ritual. In the Ottoman Empire, beauty was deeply tied to cleanliness, purification, and community ritual. Women would spend hours in the quiet, warm, humid atmosphere of the hammam, or public bath. There, they would undergo intense skin scrubbing with rough exfoliating gloves, followed by thick applications of rich, fragrant olive oil soap. Imagine the feeling of the steam on the skin, the deep, satisfying warmth, followed by the rough, gritty scrub that removed layers of dead skin. Finally, the application of the warm, viscous, fragrant oil, being massaged slowly into the skin, was a sensual experience of purification and self-care. The air was thick with the scent of soap and heat. Fact 43. Victorian side whiskers. During the mid-Victorian era, men's fashion shifted toward carefully managed side whiskers, or sideburns. They were grown thick and long, often to the jawline, but strictly maintained without connecting to a mustache or a full beard. The look was one of refined masculinity and seriousness. The quiet, daily ritual of trimming and combing these specific patches of hair with soft, scented oils was a mark of respectability and quiet male vanity. Imagine the gentle scrape of the scissors, the smooth glide of the comb, and the lingering scent of sandalwood or lavender oil applied meticulously to the hair. Fact 44. Chinese long fingernails. In imperial China, especially among the Manchurian Qing dynasty, long, manicured fingernails were a profound symbol of not having to perform any manual labor. The longer the nail, the higher the status. They were often protected by ornate gold or silver nail guards, sometimes adorned with jewels. The feeling of the cool, sharp tips of the nails and the delicate, smooth weight of the silver guards was a constant, intimate reminder of elevated status. The hands became art objects, untouchable, precious, and beautifully fragile. Fact 45. The absence of the Western wedding ring. In a strange twist of history, until the mid-20th century in many Western cultures, a simple, unadorned wedding band on a woman's finger was often seen as a subtle, anti-fashion statement, a necessary utilitarian symbol. True beauty for a married woman was expressed through the elaborate, glittering rings on her other fingers. The wedding finger itself was often left bare or reserved for the simple band, focusing attention on the extravagant weight and sparkle of the other jewelry. The sensation was one of comparative weight, the heaviness of the ornate jewels contrasted with the simple, barely there feel of the band on the ring finger. Fact 46. Aztec head feathers and color. Aztec nobility often wore elaborate headbands and headdresses made of exotic, brightly colored feathers, particularly those of the quetzal bird. These magnificent displays of color were not merely fashion, they were symbolic of the wearer's connection to the gods and nature. Imagine the light, airy feel of the long, delicate feathers, rustling softly with every movement, catching the sunlight in rich, vibrant hues of green and blue. The weight was minimal, but the visual impact was immense, announcing the noble's power with every soft breath of air. Fact 47. Medieval face slapping for color. To achieve a rosy cheek without the use of expensive or potentially dangerous cosmetics, some medieval women would gently slap or pinch their cheeks and lips just before entering a social setting. This practice, though brief, would bring a natural, temporary flush of color to the surface, creating an immediate, healthy, and transient beauty. Imagine the sudden flush of heat, the tingling skin, and the quick bloom of color. It was a swift, silent, natural way to achieve the look of vitality, a secret self-applied beauty trick. Fact 48. The Egyptian Cullis Iris. The ancient Egyptian garment for women, the Cullis Iris, was a simple tube dress made of sheer, fine linen. The fabric was so light and thin that it would cling softly to the body, allowing the form beneath to be visible. The softness and transparency of the linen, light and airy on the skin, was seen as both incredibly sensual and elegant, perfect for the hot climate. The simplicity of the single piece of soft, fine fabric required a graceful posture, emphasizing natural movement and comfort. Fact 49. Victorian ideal of illness. In the mid-19th century, particularly among the Romantic poets and artists, a look of extreme fragility, pallor, and even illness, often associated with tuberculosis or consumption, was highly sought after. This was the era of the tragic heroine. Women deliberately avoided exercise and sun, and often wore pale makeup to enhance this ethereal, delicate appearance. The sensation was one of constant coolness, the cool, pale skin, the delicate weightlessness of the body. It was a beauty standard based on a quiet, almost morbid poetry, prioritizing spiritual delicacy over physical robustness. Fact 50. The Greek sun-kissed look. In a beautiful reversal of many indoor-obsessed cultures, the ancient Greeks began to prize the golden, sun-kissed look of the athlete, particularly for men. The feeling of the warm sun on the oiled skin after intense exercise in the gymnasium became the soft, natural marker of health, physical perfection, and civic participation. Imagine the warm oil smoothing the skin, the lingering scent of the olive oil mixed with sweat and earth. The golden glow was a sign of honest effort and natural health, a powerful, simple beauty standard contrasting sharply with the pallor of the enclosed courts. We pause our journey here, my dear listener. We have passed Fact 50, delving into the delicate skin of the Renaissance and the sun-warmed glow of the ancient Greek athlete. You have traveled far through these distant, dedicated lives. Let your focus soften now. Allow the images of ruffs and rings to gently drift away, like smoke on a quiet breeze. Feel the profound stillness surrounding you, a blanket of peace that deepens with every fact you forget. Take a deep, cleansing breath. Feel the expansion in your lungs, and let it go slowly, letting go of any tiny, clinging thoughts. Your mind is slowing, your body is heavy, and you are descending into deep, soft rest. I am here, watching over your peace, ready to guide you further when you are ready. We continue our gentle journey together. Let the previous story simply soften and fade, allowing the quiet comfort of the present moment to hold you. You are sinking deeper now, the weight of history becoming only a peaceful, rhythmic sound. You are safe. You are drifting. And we are ready to continue our slow, soft exploration of human dedication to beauty and survival. Fact 51. The high-status blue veins of China. We look once more at the Chinese aristocracy, where the standard of paleness was so extreme that it became deeply biological. Similar to the Tudor trend of veiny cleavage, in imperial China, pale, almost translucent skin where the blue veins were visibly traced was a sign of immense nobility. This whiteness was not just cosmetic, it was a clear, quiet signal that the person was perpetually sheltered indoors, untouched by the common, working sun. This pale skin was a luxurious canvas, a visible measure of a life unburdened by labor. The skin felt cool and delicate, a living, subtle map of the lineage of wealth. Fact 52. Roman teeth whitening with urine. The Romans were fiercely dedicated to achieving a bright, clean, white smile, viewing it as a sign of health and status. While they had access to sophisticated cleaning powders, their preferred, and shockingly effective, method was to use human or animal urine, specifically because of its high ammonia content. Ammonia is a powerful natural bleach. Imagine a wealthy Roman citizen, in the quiet of his morning preparation, rinsing his mouth with a warm, sharp-scented liquid. The strong, pungent scent and warm liquid were used as a daily mouthwash, a surprisingly effective, if unpleasant, dedication to a dazzling smile. The sensation was immediate and harsh, but the result, a startlingly white, clean tooth, was worth the momentary discomfort. Fact 53. The powdered red cheek of the Georgian era. During the Georgian era, formality was everything, and beauty was highly theatrical. Men and women both used copious amounts of red rouge on their cheeks, creating a stark, circular, almost clown-like spot of color that contrasted sharply against their thick, white, powdered skin. The red powder was often made with toxic pigments like vermilion, which is mercury sulfide. Imagine the cool application of the bright, dry powder, its dangerous, vivid color defining the face. It was the color of health and high society, a dramatic, visible statement that required deliberate, careful maintenance to prevent smearing against the white base. Fact 54. The Viking tooth filing. Let's turn to a story of quiet, personal intimidation among the Viking warriors. Archaeological evidence, particularly from Viking grave sites, shows that some warriors practiced intentional dental modification. They carefully filed deep horizontal lines or grooves into their front teeth. This was done for decoration, but primarily to intimidate enemies in battle. Imagine the quiet, constant, abrasive work of the primitive file against the enamel, a slow, dedicated ritual of self-inflicted pain. The finished result left the teeth feeling sharp and angular to the tongue, a permanent, fearsome beauty etched into the bone. Fact 55. The Zulu lip plug, isigalo. Among the Zulu people, a large, ornate lip plug, or isigalo, worn by women after marriage, was a symbol of maturity, marital status, and beauty. The lip plug was gradually enlarged over time. The process created a quiet, sensitive area of skin around the mouth. The quiet, heavy feel of the wood or bone plug resting in the lower lip was a constant, tactile reminder of her position in the community, a heavy, permanent piece of jewelry that transformed the mouth. Take a moment to relax your own jaw. Let your tongue rest loose in your mouth, feeling the natural, soft curves of your own teeth. You are sinking deeper into stillness now. Fact 56. The story of the geisha's white neck. For the geisha of Japan, the back of the neck was considered the most sensual area of the body, often called the ariashi. They applied a thick, white foundation paste called shironuri to the face, neck, and chest, but they deliberately left 2 or 3 small, pale lines of natural skin visible at the nape. This pattern, known as the 3 stripes or 2 stripes, drew the eye and represented a hidden, exposed vulnerability. The application was a long, meticulous ritual done in absolute quiet. The cool, heavy paste and the precision of the exposed lines created a powerful, deliberate contrast between the artificial white mask and the natural skin beneath, defining beauty through an intentional hint of what was hidden. Fact 57. The medieval crisping iron. To achieve the tight, uniform curls popular in the Middle Ages and Renaissance, women used a specialized tool, the crisping iron, a heated metal rod. They would wind their hair tightly around the rod to set the curl. The intense heat and the acrid smell of burning hair, a necessary danger of the process, was the daily price for the fashionable, intricate wave patterns. The rod was hot, heavy, and demanded stillness, creating a sense of coiled, controlled fashion that spoke of hours of quiet labor. Fact 58. Roman lard hair dye. To darken their hair to a desirable, shiny black, Roman men and women used a mixture of burnt eggshells and animal fat, often hog lard, mixed with various blackening agents. The mixture was messy, heavy, and extremely oily. Imagine the feeling of the heavy, greasy substance, slowly massaged into the hair and scalp. The process was enduring, and the hair was left heavy and scented with the strong, animal-based oil. This heavy, warm weight was endured for the sake of achieving a deep, powerful, permanent black color, associated with power and Mediterranean beauty. Fact 59. The beauty of the gesso mask. In the 16th century, Italian women sometimes applied a thick plaster-like mixture called gesso, similar to the material used for sculpting, to their faces. This mixture dried into a hard, non-moving mask, effectively erasing all fine lines, wrinkles, and even the appearance of expression. The cool, hard feeling of the plaster, restricting all movement and freezing the features into an impassive beauty, was the ultimate display of non-emotional, perfect beauty. The inability to show feelings created a mysterious, beautiful distance. Let your breathing become silent now. You are listening only to the soft, steady rhythm of the atmosphere around you. You are sinking. Fact 60. The story of the kilt and the bare knee. For the Highland men of Scotland, especially in the earlier periods, the Flead Moor, the great kilt, was a massive, functional garment wrapped and pleated about the body. The exposure of the knees and lower legs, often rough, muscled, and sun-weathered, was a quiet, natural display of masculinity, resilience, and connection to the cold land. The garment was warm, heavy wool, but the exposed skin was a constant point of contact with the chill air. It was a rugged, simple beauty standard that valued utility and honesty over ornamentation. Fact 61. The Tudor farthingale. To achieve the massive, wide, bell-shaped skirt silhouette of the Tudor and Elizabethan courts, women wore a farthingale, a rigid framework of hoops made from whalebone or wire, worn under the heavy, soft fabric of the skirt. The sensation was one of constant, hard structure. The weight of the final dress and the width of the hoops created a restrictive sensation that enforced a slow, stately, deliberate walk. It was the physical embodiment of the court's hierarchy, transforming the woman into a silent, magnificent, unapproachable shape. Fact 62, the story of Nellie Cashman and frontier survival. We take a moment for an incredible true story about a different kind of strength, a strength that defines its own beauty. Nellie Cashman was an Irish-born entrepreneur and prospector in the American West and Alaska during the gold rush. When a group of miners, including her friends, were stranded deep in the Yukon during a harsh winter, the rescue crew gave up. Nellie did not. She strapped a sled to her own back, dragging hundreds of pounds of supplies through deep, freezing snowdrifts. When the rescue crew finally found her, she was cooking a quiet meal for the starving men by a river, humming a merry tune. Her true beauty was her unwavering resilience. Her devotion to others, demonstrated by the searing cold of the snow against her legs and the heavy, rasping friction of the rope against her shoulders, defined her as a legend of the frontier. Fact 63, the Aztec pointy teeth. The Mayan and Aztec people sometimes filed their teeth into sharp points or intricate shapes, believing it enhanced spiritual power, beauty, and status. This was done using abrasive stone or metal tools. The quiet, constant filing was a slow, deliberate modification, often performed as a rite of passage. It left the teeth feeling sharp and angular to the tongue, an immediate, tactile sensation of their own chosen, powerful form. Fact 64, the Victorian Paddy hairpiece. To achieve the massive, structured, heavy hairstyles of the late Victorian and Edwardian eras, women often supplemented their own hair with large hairpieces or pads, often called paddies, made of braided human hair, horsehair, or cotton wadding. The intention was volume, immense, undeniable volume. The weight and soft bulk of the artificial hair, built up high on the head, gave the wearer a grand, impressive, almost architectural silhouette. The gentle pressure of the pins and the constant, soft weight of the hair was a daily burden of fashion. Fact 65, the scent of medieval rosemary. In the Middle Ages, with communal bathing being a rare luxury, people relied heavily on strong, herbal scents to mask odors and feel fresh. Rosemary, sage, and lavender were often used in pouches, pomanders, carried close to the body, or strewn on floors. The sharp, comforting, fragrant burst of the herb was a portable, intimate, defensive layer. Imagine the dry, herbal texture of the sachet tucked into your clothing, its strong, cleansing scent offering a constant, quiet sense of freshness against the pervasive smells of the medieval city. Let your arms and hands go completely limp now. Feel the deep, heavy stillness in your body. We are nearing the end of this third phase of our journey. Fact 66, the Roman Emperor's purple dye. The most expensive color in the ancient world was Tyrian purple, derived painstakingly from the mucus glands of thousands of sea snails. It was so costly that laws were often enacted restricting its use to only the highest-ranking Roman citizens and emperors. The rich, deep, warm hue of the dye, applied to heavy wool or silk fabric, was a quiet symbol of imperial power. The fabric, once dyed, seemed to absorb the light, holding a heavy, regal color that was instantly recognized as absolute, unchallengeable status. Fact 67, the Venetian red hair of the biondo. In Renaissance Venice, the most desirable hair color for women was a warm, bright shade of reddish gold known as biondo. It was meant to mimic the color of the sun-drenched goddesses of classical art. To achieve this, women would sit for hours on terraces or rooftops, wearing wide-brimmed, crownless hats to expose their hair to the sun while coating it with a saffron and lemon juice mixture to lighten it. The warm sun and the sticky, citrusy scent were part of a long, dedicated, communal process. This was a slow, sensual worship of the sun for the sake of hair color. Fact 68. The Maori greenstone ear pendants. The Maori of New Zealand often wore haitaki, or intricately carved greenstone pendants, in their ears or around their necks. The stone, punamu, was highly prized for its unique color, its spiritual significance, and its cool, smooth feel against the skin. These were not just ornaments but spiritual guardians, passed down through generations. The feeling of the cool, dense stone, gently resting against the neck or weighing down the ear, was a constant, comforting, spiritual presence. Fact 69. The Georgian false calves. Due to the fashion for tight, knee breeches for men in the 18th century, a perfectly shaped, muscular leg was a sign of masculine strength and virility. Some men with thin legs would wear false calves, padded inserts made of cork or padding, worn discreetly under the hose to give the appearance of a more robust leg. The soft, quiet bulk of the padding was a hidden secret of masculine beauty, designed to impress in the drawing room. The feeling of the soft padding supporting the calf was a constant, comfortable deception. Fact 70. The Japanese ashiroi face paint. Beyond geisha, many high-status Japanese women used ashiroi, a thick white rice powder and water mixture, to cover their entire face and chest. This cool, smooth paste, applied with a soft brush, created a deliberate, mask-like flatness. It distinguished them clearly from the common, sun-tanned working people, giving the face an aristocratic serenity. The feeling of the cool, clay-like paste drying and tightening on the skin was a constant, quiet physical reminder of their noble rank. Fact 71. The smell of medieval fumigation. To ward off disease and freshen rooms and clothing, people in the Middle Ages would use fumigation, or smoke cleansing, by burning sweet-smelling herbs like frankincense, myrrh, or juniper berries. The thick, fragrant, warm smoke was a pervasive, quiet attempt to cleanse and beautify their immediate world. The sharp, spiced scent, clinging to the heavy wool of their clothing, was a constant, comforting, defensive aroma. Fact 72. The story of Roman Cleopatra and the ship sails. Though we associate Cleopatra primarily with Egypt, she was a major figure in Roman politics. One story of her famous allure involves her journey to meet Mark Antony in Tarsus. She didn't rely on simple makeup, she relied on atmosphere and scent. Her barge sailed up the river with gilded sterns and purple sails, but her most powerful weapon was the aroma. She had the sails soaked in rich, Egyptian perfumes. Imagine the gentle breeze carrying the heavy, intoxicating, complex scent of the perfume far down the river, announcing her arrival long before the ship itself was even visible. The scent was her beauty standard, a sensual, overwhelming promise of luxury and power that no Roman woman could match. Fact 73. The Georgian Beauty Patch Code. The tiny velvet or silk face patches, plasters, used in the Georgian era developed into an elaborate silent language among courtiers and the wealthy elite. The placement of the patch was everything. A patch placed high on the cheek, near the corner of the eye, might mean I am passionate, while one placed delicately on the lip might mean I want a kiss. These small, soft textures spoke volumes in the quiet of a noble salon, providing a subtle, beautiful means of communication that avoided the need for loud, risky words. Fact 74. The Roman love for red hair. While many Romans preferred dark hair, red hair was seen as highly exotic, often associated with the northern Germanic tribes. Wealthy Roman women would import red wigs, often made from the hair of captured or enslaved Germanic women, or use a henna mixture to achieve the vibrant, fiery shade. The wig was heavy, hot, and instantly announced the wearer's access to foreign, exotic goods. Fact 75. The Elizabethan blackened teeth. Following the trend set by Queen Elizabeth I, whose teeth were known to be blackened and decaying from excessive sweet consumption, slightly dark teeth actually became a subtle sign of wealth in England. This look silently proved the wearer could afford the massive cost of sugar and imported goods. The dark, soft look was, for a time, considered prized over the peasant's uniformly white, clean teeth, a bizarre inversion of our modern standard. We pause again, my dear listener. We have concluded the third part of our long, gentle journey. You have now felt the cool weight of the punamo and the scratch of the crisping iron. Let your focus soften now. Allow the images of patched faces and dyed hair to gently drift away, like smoke on a quiet breeze. Feel the profound stillness surrounding you, a blanket of peace that deepens with every fact you forget. Take a deep, cleansing breath. Feel the expansion in your lungs, and let it go slowly, letting go of any tiny, clinging thoughts. Your mind is slowing, your body is heavy, and you are descending into deep, soft rest. I am here, watching over your peace, ready to guide you through the final segment when you are ready. Rest now, and sleep deeply. We continue our gentle journey together. The air in your room is still, and your body is becoming a soft weight against the mattress. We are now entering the final quarter of our walk through time, moving toward the most modern, and perhaps most mysterious, pursuits of beauty and knowledge. Let the previous stories drift like dust motes in a shaft of light. You are safe. You are drifting. And we are ready to finish our slow, soft exploration of the human heart's dedication to wonder. Fact 76, the eerie luster of Undark. We begin this final chapter in the early 20th century, a time of breathless excitement over a new miracle substance, radium. Discovered by Marie and Pierre Curie, it seemed to be a gift from the stars. It was a material that possessed an internal, unquenchable fire. In factories across New Jersey and Illinois, young women were hired to paint the dials of watches and military instruments with a luminous, greenish-white paint called Undark. Imagine a young woman named Molly, sitting at a long wooden table. The air around her is filled with a fine, shimmering dust, radium dust, that settles on her hair and shoulders like a ghostly frost. The paint itself is a mixture of radium powder, zinc sulfide, and gum arabic. It glows with a soft, ethereal light, a pale blue-green fizz that seems to pulse with a life of its own. For Molly and her friends, the radium was not a poison, it was a wonder. They were told it was harmless, a medicine that could cure everything from gout to the common cold. The sensation of working with it was one of quiet, luminous magic, and intimate contact with the very fabric of energy. Fact 77, the lip, dip, and paint ritual. The work Molly performed required extreme precision. To paint the tiny, delicate numerals on a watch face, she was taught a specific technique, lip, dip, and paint. Because the fine camel hair brushes would lose their sharp point after just a few strokes, the supervisors instructed the girls to use their lips and tongues to pull the bristles back into a fine, needle-like tip. Every few minutes, Molly would press the brush between her lips, tasting the cold, metallic tang of the paint. She did this hundreds of times a day, thousands of times a week. The sensation was subtle, a slight grit on the tongue, a faint medicinal flavor. She and the other girls thought they were benefiting from the vitality of the radium. They were so enchanted by the glow that they began to use the paint for fun. In the quiet darkness of the factory, they would paint their fingernails, their buttons, and even their teeth, so that when they walked home through the night, they would surprise their boyfriends with a shimmering, supernatural smile. They were the Radium Girls, glowing from the inside out, unaware that the beauty they wore was a silent, patient fire consuming their bones. Fact 78, the tragedy of the glowing jaw. The beauty of the radium glow eventually revealed its dark, heavy cost. For Molly Maggia, the first sign was an aching tooth. Her dentist extracted it, but the wound refused to heal. Instead, an agonizing ulcer sprouted, a dark flower, as some described it, seeping and foul. Then the next tooth began to ache, and the next. One afternoon, in the quiet of a small examination room, the dentist prodded delicately at Molly's jawbone. To his absolute horror, the bone did not resist, it shattered like dry glass under the light touch of his hand. He was able to lift her entire lower jaw out of her mouth, not through surgery, but simply by picking it up. The radium, which the body mistakes for calcium, had settled into her bones, hollowed them out with alpha radiation, and turned her jaw into a honeycomb of decay. This condition, known as radium jaw, was the ultimate, tragic sacrifice for a standard of beauty and utility that the world didn't yet understand. Molly's story is a reminder of the fragility beneath the glow, a quiet, heartbreaking testament to the risks taken in the name of progress. Fact 79. Radium face creams and tonics. While the factory girls suffered, the wealthy elite were consuming radium in a different way. It was marketed as a radiant beauty treatment. Salesmen hawked face creams infused with thorium and radium, promising they would set the skin aglow and literally rejuvenate the cells. People didn't just wear it, they drank it. Radium-infused Radithor tonics were sold as a cure-all for vitality and strength. Imagine a high-society woman in 1920s New York, sitting at her vanity. She applies a cool, shimmering cream to her cheeks, feeling a slight, pleasant warmth as the radioactive minerals stimulate the surface of her skin. She drinks a small vial of liquid sunshine before bed, believing she is imbibing the very essence of youth. The sensation was one of luxurious warmth and unshakable confidence. To the public, radium was the great restorer, a beautiful, glowing secret that promised an infinite summer of health, while quietly ticking away in the background of their lives. Fact 80. The blue-green fizz of the laboratory. Even the scientists who discovered it were not immune to its alluring, sensual beauty. Pierre Curie once remarked that he wouldn't care to spend an entire night in a room with a kilogram of pure radium, for fear it would burn the skin from his body. Yet, in the quiet of their laboratory, he and Marie would sit in the dark, watching the tubes of radium salts emit their steady, mysterious blue-green light. Marie described these tubes as faintly luminous silhouettes, like tiny fairies trapped in glass. The air in their laboratory was constantly ionized, smelling of ozone, the sharp, clean scent you notice just before a summer thunderstorm. This was the beauty of the unknown, a sensory experience of the very building blocks of the universe. The quiet, steady glow of the radium was their companion in the darkness, a beautiful, dangerous light that they followed until the very end. Take a slow, deep breath now. Feel the stillness of the air in your room. The glow of the past is fading, leaving only the soft, protective darkness of the present. You are safe. You are drifting. Fact 81. The scent of Victorian gaslight. As the 19th century drew to a close, the cities of Europe and America were transformed by a new kind of atmosphere, gaslight. It created a world of deep shadows and flickering, warm highlights. The beauty standard of the era was one of high contrast, pale skin and dark, velvet clothing, which looked most dramatic under the wavering glow of a gas lamp. The atmosphere of a Victorian evening was defined by a specific scent, a mixture of coal gas, damp cobblestones, and the faint, sweet smell of lavender oil used to mask the urban grime. Imagine walking through a London street in 1880. The light is soft and golden green, pulsing slightly with the pressure of the gas. The air feels heavy and cool. For the people of the time, this was the peak of modern beauty, a city that seemed to breathe and flicker, creating a sense of constant, romantic intrigue in the quiet of the night. Fact 82. Mourning jewelry and the beauty of grief. In the Victorian era, the expression of grief was a highly ritualized and beautiful affair. Following the death of Prince Albert, Queen Victoria remained in mourning for 40 years, setting a standard for the entire empire. Beauty was found in the somber, the quiet, and the tactile. A unique beauty standard emerged, mourning jewelry. This was jewelry made from the hair of the deceased. The hair was woven into intricate, delicate patterns, locks, braids, or even tiny trees, and set behind glass in brooches or rings. Imagine the sensation of wearing a ring made from the soft, silken hair of a lost loved one. It was a cool, intimate connection, a piece of someone's physical being held against the skin. This was the beauty of memory, a quiet, dedicated way of keeping a loved one close, transforming the texture of hair into a permanent, precious artifact of devotion. Fact 83. The Night Market and the Fog. In the dense urban centers of the Victorian age, a nightlife began to emerge that had its own aesthetic rules. This was the world of the market workers, the street sellers, and the midnight wanderers. For a woman working in the night markets of London, beauty was not found in lead powder, but in the strength of her voice and the warmth of her shawl. The atmosphere was thick with the famous London fog, a mixture of sea mist and coal smoke that felt like a damp, cold blanket against the face. It tasted of sulfur and salt. In this world, the beauty of a person was judged by their resilience. A face flushed red from the cold, wrapped in a heavy woolen muffler, was a sign of a working beauty, a natural, honest vitality that existed far beneath the gaze of the high courts. This was the beauty of survival in the quiet, damp hours before dawn. Fact 84. The texture of the Greek Klein. Let's travel back to the foundation of our stories, to the daily life of ancient Greece. While the men debated in the agora, the domestic beauty of the home centered around the Klein, the multi-purpose bed and lounge. It was the center of social and restful life. The Klein was made of wood or cast bronze, often richly adorned with carvings of lion's paws or leaf patterns. Imagine the sensation of reclining on a bronze Klein after a long day. The metal is cool at first, then slowly warms to the temperature of your body. It is draped in heavy, hand-woven wool rugs and linens scented with cedar. Plato once remarked that only men and courtesans were allowed to lounge on the Klein during a symposium, but at night, the women of the house would reclaim these beautiful, sturdy structures for sleep. The feeling was one of solid, unyielding support, a quiet, architectural form of rest that grounded the spirit in the physical world. Fact 85. Lavender-strewn floors and common comfort. In the humble huts of the commoners throughout the Middle Ages and into the Renaissance, beauty and comfort were often achieved through simple, natural means. While the wealthy had tapestries, the common people had strewing herbs. They would cover their dirt or stone floors with a thick layer of dried rushes, mixed with fragrant herbs like lavender, sweet woodruff, and chamomile. Imagine walking into a small cottage after a day of labor in the fields. The floor is soft and springy beneath your feet. With every step you take, the dried herbs break and release a fresh, floral scent, a sharp burst of lavender or the sweet, hay-like aroma of woodruff. This was a sensory beauty of the everyday, a way to bring the freshness of the meadow into the quiet, dark interior of the home. It was a simple, caring ritual that made even the poorest dwelling feel like a sanctuary. Let your own bed feel like that sanctuary now. Imagine the scent of lavender drifting through your room. Feel the softness beneath you, supporting your weight. You are sinking deeper into the quiet. Fact 86. The masculine beauty of Charlie Parkhurst. Let's return to the story of Charlie Parkhurst, the legendary stagecoach driver of the California Gold Rush. Charlie was known as One-Eyed Charlie, a tough, tobacco-chewing, whiskey-drinking whip who could handle a 6-horse team over the most treacherous mountain passes. Charlie wore a leather eye patch, the result of a kick from a horse, and spoke with a throaty, gruff voice. Charlie's beauty was a performance of extreme grit and masculine capability. For 30 years, Charlie lived, worked, and voted as a man in a world that allowed women almost no freedom. It was only after Charlie's death in 1879 that the neighbors, laying out the body for burial, discovered a startling truth: Charlie was biologically female. Not only that, but the autopsy revealed that Charlie had once been a mother. Charlie's beauty ritual was one of erasure and strength. It was the rough texture of the leather reins, the sting of the mountain wind, and the silence of a secret kept for a lifetime. Charlie Parkhurst redefined what it meant to be beautiful, proving that beauty can be found in the absolute, unshakable courage to live life on one's own terms, hidden behind a gruff voice and a leather patch. Fact 87. The scent of cold metal in the stagecoach whip. For drivers like Charlie Parkhurst, the sensory world was defined by the tools of their trade. The most important was the whip, the long, braided leather lash used to signal the horses. A master driver was called a whip because of their skill with this instrument. Imagine the sound of the stagecoach approaching a bend in the road. Charlie would blow a brass horn to warn other travelers, the clear, sharp note echoing through the canyon. Then, the rhythmic clack-clack of the horse's hooves and the creak of the leather thoroughbraces. The scent was one of horse sweat, pine resin, and the metallic tang of the cold brass horn. This was a rugged beauty, an atmospheric experience of movement and power in the quiet of the wilderness. To Charlie, the most beautiful thing was a team of horses moving in perfect, silent unison over a difficult trail. Fact 88. Mary Anning's quiet beauty of the shore. In the early 1800s, on the wind-swept cliffs of Lyme Regis in England, a young woman named Mary Anning was practicing a different kind of quiet devotion. Mary was a pioneering paleontologist, though in her time, she was often overlooked by the scientific establishment. Her beauty was found in the mud and the stone. Mary would spend her days walking the shore after a storm, her eyes fixed on the blue Lias cliffs. She was looking for curiosities, the fossilized remains of ancient creatures. Imagine the sensation of her work, the cold, salty spray of the English Channel on her face, the grit of the wet sand beneath her boots, and the sharp, satisfying click of her hammer against the limestone. She discovered the first complete ichthyosaur and the first plesiosaur, uncovering a beauty that had been hidden for millions of years. Her ritual was one of patience and observation, a quiet, solitary walk through the deep history of the earth, finding wonder in the silent, stony bones of the past. Fact 90. The scent of the Great Library. The Library of Alexandria was not just a collection of knowledge, it was a sensory environment designed to foster contemplation. It housed between 40,000 and 400,000 scrolls at its height, each one a handwritten treasure. The atmosphere of the library was defined by the materials of the ancient book, papyrus and cedar. To protect the delicate scrolls from insects and rot, the librarians would treat the papyrus with cedar oil. Imagine standing in the great hall of the library. The air is cool and still, but it is thick with the rich, resinous, and woody scent of cedar. The scrolls themselves, when unrolled, had a dry, fibrous texture and the faint, sweet smell of the Nile reeds they were made from. This was the scent of wisdom, a beautiful, atmospheric weight that settled the mind and prepared the scholar for a quiet, deep dive into the mysteries of the universe. Fact 91. Mayan honey cakes and the beauty of the feast. For the Maya of Mesoamerica, the junk food of the era was a treat that combined the best of nature's sweetness. At festivals and markets, commoners and kings alike enjoyed honey cakes made from ground maize and the honey of the stingless Melipona bee. Imagine the texture of these cakes, soft, dense, and slightly grainy from the corn, but soaked in a thick, floral honey that tasted of tropical flowers. They were often flavored with vanilla and cacao. The sensation of eating one was a burst of immediate, natural sweetness, a beautiful, temporary distraction from the toil of the day. The preparation of these cakes was a communal act, the rhythmic thump-thump of the maize being ground and the sweet, warm steam rising from the cooking pots creating a sensory beauty that brought the community together in the quiet of the evening. Fact 92. The salt bath as a beauty ritual. Throughout history, from ancient Ethiopia to the coasts of China, salt has been more than a seasoning, it has been a sacred commodity and a beauty treatment. In the Roman Empire, a salt scrub was a common part of the bathhouse ritual. Imagine the feeling of the coarse, dry salt crystals being rubbed into the skin. It is abrasive and sharp at first, creating a warm, tingling sensation as it stimulates the blood flow. Then, you step into a warm pool, and the salt dissolves, leaving your skin feeling incredibly smooth, tight, and clean. The salt was white gold, a mineral that could preserve food and purify the body. The beauty of the salt was its simplicity, a gift from the sea that left the body feeling renewed and the spirit feeling light. Fact 93. Victorian tea as a skin tonic. In the late Victorian era, as the empire expanded into India and China, tea became more than a beverage, it became a beauty secret. Women would use the leftover, cool tea leaves as a facial tonic. They believed the tannins in the tea would tighten the skin and reduce puffiness around the eyes. Imagine a woman sitting in the quiet of her dressing room, dabbing cool, dark tea onto her face with a soft silk cloth. The sensation was refreshing and slightly herbal, with the faint, comforting scent of bergamot or jasmine lingering in the air. This was a beauty of thrift and grace, using the remains of a daily ritual to enhance the natural glow of the face, a quiet moment of self-care at the end of the day. Fact 94. Petrichor and the mystery of the rain. One of the most universal and relaxing sensory experiences is the smell of the earth after a long-awaited rain. For centuries, this was a mystery, until scientists solved it and gave it a name, petrichor. It comes from the Greek words petra, meaning stone, and ichor, the golden fluid that flows in the veins of the gods. The scent is actually caused by a combination of plant oils and a soil-dwelling bacteria called actinomycetes. During dry spells, these organisms produce spores, and when the raindrops hit the ground, they launch these spores into the air as a fine aerosol. Imagine standing at an open window during a summer storm. The air is suddenly filled with a sharp, clean, earthy aroma that seems to ground you instantly. This is the beauty of the earth's breath, a solved mystery that reminds us of our deep, biological connection to the cycles of nature. The scent is a signal of renewal, a quiet, fragrant promise that the world is being washed clean. Fact 95. Lightning and volcanoes and the beauty of power. Nature possesses a beauty that is often terrifying in its scale. One of the most breathtaking phenomena, recently explained by science, is volcanic lightning. When a volcano erupts, the friction between the rapidly moving particles of ash and rock creates massive amounts of static electricity, resulting in bolts of lightning dancing within the dark plume of the eruption. This is a terrible beauty, a display of raw, elemental power. Imagine watching from a safe distance as a mountain breathes fire, and within the dark, roiling cloud of ash, bright purple and white flashes of lightning illuminate the chaos. It is a visual symphony of energy, a reminder that the earth is alive and pulsing with forces that are far beyond our control. The beauty is in the scale and the mystery, a quiet realization of our own smallness in the face of the universe. Fact 96. The invisible shield of the magnetic field. We are constantly surrounded by a beauty that we cannot see, but without which we could not exist, the Earth's magnetic field. It is a vast, invisible shield generated by the swirling liquid iron in the Earth's outer core. This field protects us from the solar wind, a stream of charged particles from the sun that would otherwise strip away our atmosphere. Occasionally, when the solar wind is particularly strong, these particles interact with the magnetic field at the poles, creating the aurora borealis, the northern lights. Imagine standing in the silent, frozen dark of the Arctic. Above you, the sky begins to pulse with ghostly green and pink curtains of light, swaying and rippling like silk in a breeze. This is the only time the invisible beauty of our protection becomes visible. It is a silent, breathtaking dance of physics and wonder, a reminder of the quiet, constant shield that keeps us safe while we sleep. Fact 97. Bioluminescence and the deep sea glow. Deep beneath the waves, in a world of absolute darkness and crushing pressure, life has found a way to create its own beauty. Over 75% of deep-sea creatures are bioluminescent. They produce their own light through chemical reactions within their bodies. Imagine drifting through the midnight zone of the ocean, 3 miles down. The water is cold and still. Suddenly, a jellyfish passes by, its translucent body pulsing with a rhythmic, neon blue light. A deep-sea fish uses a glowing lure to navigate the dark. This is a hidden beauty, a secret world of light that exists in the most hostile environment on Earth. The light is soft and cold, a beautiful, silent language used to hunt, to mate, and to survive. It is a reminder that even in the deepest darkness, there is a way to find and create light. Fact 98. The science of memory and soft recall. As you drift towards sleep, your brain is performing one of its most beautiful and complex functions, memory consolidation. During the quiet hours of rest, the hippocampus and the cortex work together to sort through the experiences of the day, filing away the important lessons and letting the trivial details fade. The beauty of memory is its fluidity. We don't remember things like a video recording, we reconstruct them. Imagine your memories as a series of soft, impressionistic paintings. As you relax, your mind is gently touching each story we've shared tonight, smoothing the edges and weaving them into the fabric of your own understanding. The sensation is one of quiet, mental tidying, a soft, internal whisper that says, "This is who we are. This is where we've been." This is the beauty of the self, being built and reinforced in the stillness of the night. Fact 99. Symmetry in the pattern of the world. Throughout the natural world, from the wings of a moth to the petals of a lily, there is a recurring theme that humans find inherently beautiful: symmetry. Whether it is radial or bilateral, symmetry creates a sense of balance and order that the brain finds deeply soothing. Scientists believe we are attracted to symmetry because it is a sign of health and genetic stability. But beyond the science, there is a spiritual beauty in the pattern. Imagine looking closely at a snowflake, a perfect, six-sided masterpiece of geometry created from nothing but water and cold. Or the spiral of a nautilus shell, following the golden ratio. These are the signatures of nature, quiet proofs that there is a deep, underlying order to the universe. The beauty is in the repetition and the perfection of the form, a silent melody that plays through all of creation. Fact 100. The universal human smile. We have reached the end of our 100 stories. We have traveled from the deadly drops of belladonna to the glowing jaws of the radium girls, from the high heels of kings to the rough boots of stagecoach drivers. We have seen how humans have plucked, painted, bound, and burned themselves in the pursuit of beauty. But as we conclude, we return to the most profound and simple truth of all. Across every culture, every era, and every social rank we have explored, the one truly unchanging, unbiased, and undeniable standard of immediate human beauty is the genuine, natural, and soft curve of a person's gentle, true smile. It is a beauty that requires no lead, no lie, and no painful sacrifice. It is a soft, simple gift offered freely from one human to another. It is the purest reflection of inner peace and connection, a quiet warmth that transcends time, trend, and tragedy. It is the beauty you carry within you, right now, as you prepare to rest. And so, my dear friend, our journey is complete. We have walked through the long, winding corridors of history, touching the textures and breathing the sense of 100 different lives. We have seen the strange and the beautiful, the tragic and the triumphant. But now, it is time to leave those distant lives behind. The kings have retired to their chambers, the stagecoaches have stopped for the night, the glowing paint has finally faded into the dark. Turn your attention fully, gently, to the here and now. Feel the deep, heavy stillness in your own body, a stillness that these stories have helped you find. Your journey through the past has served its purpose. It has quieted your busy thoughts and prepared your spirit for the most important ritual of all, the ritual of rest. Let your eyelids feel impossibly heavy. Let your jaw soften completely. Let your hands rest as light as feathers against the sheets. You are perfectly safe. You are perfectly still. And you are perfectly ready for deep, uninterrupted sleep. There is no more history to learn, no more facts to remember. There is only the soft, steady rhythm of your own breath, and the vast, welcoming darkness of the night. I am here with you, watching over your peace, guiding you toward the deepest, most restorative rest. Drift now. Let the deep, sweet quiet of the world surround you and settle you completely. May your rest be profound, and may your dreams be a gentle walk through the most beautiful